get you back inside your head. Before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a night, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Hey, good morning, folks. Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit 207. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. I feel alive today. It's nice and cold. I like the cold. In fact, I love Florida, but I had to pull Tim Scott's halfback routine because I like the cold. It makes you feel alive. It reinvigorates you and reminds you you're alive. Amen. When it's all hot for months on end. All right. And Christmas, just for me, is not Christmas when it's 85 degrees. Thanksgiving has to be a little chilly, you know? You got to be able to trick or treat in a Halloween costume without sweating. So I'm back. I'm back off the road. Here we are. Ran a little bit late. We're going to have Don Smith on. We're going to do our Q&A. There's a couple things I want to talk about, though, before we do that, which is, what does it mean after the election? Forget about the 2022 elections. What does a government do once they have won? What do they do when they actually have to govern? And it's basically a ritual of the Republican Party to get in and then start tiptoeing around worrying about whether or not they're going to get anybody upset or the media is going to write a bad story. And they don't really know what to believe as far as public polls, and it throws them all about and makes them make stupid decisions. Or they make the stupid decisions themselves. Most important thing for any party to do, and Democrats should teach people this, or Republicans should take tips from Democrats, is to follow the lead of the electorate and do what it is that you were elected to do. We went through all of this, all right? Let's just really quickly, well, first and foremost, I know education was big, but if Republicans were smart, they would ensure their electoral viability in the future. And you can't do that until you make sure that your elections are secure. And I got to take myself off the screen so you guys can really see these results. Let's go first and foremost to what the final poll for the locals community in Virginia said about people's sentiment. And locals, you got this, so bear with me, all right? Requiring all voters to provide a photo identification to cast a vote. 54 strongly support, 28.3 strong support, and roughly, well, really about 10% oppose that. In Virginia, they do not have signature verification. They don't. So if anybody tells you they do, they're lying. They have a witness signature system. It is easily exploitable. Tell me, who is witnessing the signatures and whether they're verified in Fairfax County? Right. All right. And it's not just, look, it's everywhere. Strongly support. 47.3% of voters in Virginia strongly supported a signature verification system. They don't like what goes on here at this point in this state. 24.9% support it. So nearly half strongly support strict signature verification, and another quarter support it. About 16% oppose it. That's it. 16%. Bans on ballot harvesting and drop boxes. 42% strongly support it. 19 almost support it. So you're looking at over 60%. And about 26.4% oppose it altogether, including just 13 that strongly oppose it. So not exactly a lot of intensity in favor of these drop boxes we've been hearing about. Not exactly a lot of intensity in favor of these ballot harvesting operations that we're told are so vital and critical to the Republic. Nonsense. People don't understand the concept, even if it's a government agency, but the concept of a third party. You know what I think it really is too? It's not just third party potentially handling ballots. It's why the hell can't you just get your ballot in?
If it means that much.
You already have absentee ballot voting. It's mailed to you. You mail it back or drop it off at an actual location. Drop boxes, there's just too many there's just too much that can go wrong. Look, regular absentee ballot voting is point A to point B back to point A. Ballot harvesting and drop boxes is point A to point B, and then the voter at point C comes along and gives it to wherever, whether it's a box or a harvester, at point B, who then brings it to point A again. And voters don't like it. And it's not even close. Not even close. So what I'm telling the Republican Party is, if you went full bore and actually did what it is you said you would do, and actually did what would be the politically advantageous thing for you to do, which is to secure elections, and to do what it is the voters want you to do, the only ones you're going to piss off are a very tiny fanatical percentage made up of media people and people who still actually listen to them. That is a very small slice of the electorate. And how do you know I'm right? Again, results matter. If I was right with the poll result, then the questions are right. If you're not right with the election results, then it doesn't freaking matter what your questions say. Because if you're wrong with vote totals, you are wrong with questions. Public policy questions. Moving on. Election day deadlines for officials, Fairfax, to report the total number of votes cast in their precincts, counties to prevent suspicion surrounding late arriving ballots. 25.4%, about a quarter support it. 47.2% strongly support it, making for a grand total of, everybody do the math with me, 72.6% of the damn electorate wanting to put an end to what we are seeing right now. The trickling in of ballots and the counting of, yes, we know the number of votes that are supposedly out. People don't want this anymore. Listen, folks, it doesn't do our country good.
Mhm.
This is a powder keg. This system is a powder keg, and it's going to explode in our faces one day.
Yes. So don't light any matches
This is
near it.
don't yeah, but that's what happens. You see,
Mhm.
when they say, "Oh, you know what? We have to rescan 20,000 ballots." The Terry McAuliffe campaign brought it to our attention. That's a match. You're lighting around an already sitting powder keg.
Mhm.
You know, and I see some people. I have to bring this up. My good buddy Nate, the lawyer. I love you, Nate. I do. All right. But he says, how come Republicans only cry fraud when they lose? When they win, there's no fraud and blah, blah. I talk to more Republicans, Nate, because all the Republicans I have spoken to said there was no doubt. We just won outside the margin of fraud.
Mhm.
There is always fraud in elections. The question is whether or not it impacts the results of that election. Do we really need these ridiculous policies that only a tiny percentage of the elitist population in this country is trying to convince the rest of the population we need, which we don't, and they don't buy it, they're not buying it. Do we really need these unnecessary things to cause what could be one day, and almost was, and will be, if we have one more experience like this in the near future, it's gonna blow. That powder keg is going to blow. Mark, ladies and gentlemen, mark my words. It's unnecessary and the voters don't like it. So I'm sorry if you're in the 16.2% who opposes this.
What happened to their view of democracy?
I know. What
Majority
happened?
rules?
Lawrence Tribe, all of a sudden he cares about polling numbers now when he cherry picks them for the Democratic bills that he sees on, proposals that he sees in H.R. 1. First of all, you can't even trust those polls because two of the ones he cited just got Virginia wrong. Just got Virginia wrong. If they even worded the questions to begin with correctly, I assume you probably would have saw a different result. If you ask voters, do you support absentee ballot voting or vote by mail? They don't really know the difference.
Mhm.
And they want to seem reasonable. Yeah, okay, all right, sure I do. But when you talk about the specifics, they don't. And in fact, who is right and who is wrong? Again, this is Virginia, but if you've been following this for a while, you know that we have been across the board with this. Georgia, Utah, National, Florida, all over the place we've polled these questions, similar questions. And all over the place, Americans say the same thing. And in New York, where universal vote by mail and same-day registration went down, you got to ask yourself, how did these other pollsters even come up with these results? Some fancy play.
That part.
Republicans have nothing to fear and everything to lose, everything to gain.
Yes.
If they chicken out, they have everything in the world to lose.
All it takes is a spine, guys.
Guys, Americans, were willing. Right. Americans were willing to deal with it for COVID in 2020 for a short-term thing. Okay, maybe. Now that hysteria is over. It's over. And actually, it's not even that. What I just said is a half-true statement. Mm-hmm. Not all Americans were willing to do it. Many just simply wanted it to go back. At least 4 in 10 said, the way this election is going, we have no trust in the outcome of this election, and we want things to go back to normal, which is why we saw independents and Republicans saying they're overwhelmingly going to vote either early, right before Election Day, in person, or on Election Day. Even in states like Florida, where Republicans used to dominate absentee ballot voting. They dramatically changed. Folks, they dramatically changed their entire voting behavior in one election. One election. What does that tell you? Republicans used to lead in absentee ballot and early vote. Democrats led in in-person early vote. And then on Election Day, Republicans usually edge them out, and that's how it's a Republican-leaning state. Even though Obama carried it twice. He did. But Florida is pretty much a Republican-leaning state. Now, I would say It's probably not really purple at all anymore.
It's red.
It's red. It's red. And by the way, again, Democrats watching, don't let those grifters get you to give them their money for Ron DeSantis' opposition. The man is not vulnerable at all. You're going to be thrown. You might as well get. All right, you know what? Take out your wallet, reach in, take whatever you're going to get to those people, then get a lighter or go to the stove and just light it on fire.
Or actually just give it to the DeSantis campaign. It'd be best. I mean, at least it'll be put to use instead of just uselessly.
It's a waste.
Yeah.
A total waste. All right. So with that, I just wanted to go over that again one more time. And then, of course, education was such a big issue. Critical race theory. Now we can look at the actual numbers. All right. Children should be taught to be merit-based, racially colorblind, and capable of being whomever if they work hard, not that they are disadvantaged based on the color of their skin. 68%. This right here, how we basically chose to define critical race theory without actually using the word, because that would have tainted it. A lot of pollsters went out in the field and started asking about critical race theory. That is a tainting word at this point, term. We chose to use the very same terminology that Merrick Garland's son, right? It's his son. He's running around polling university students with. This is it. We took it right off the survey they gave to Harvard. After consulting and saying, well, what would be wrong with this definition? And they said, well, we went with this one because what you're missing is that it is critical to teach that we will never overcome racism if we don't acknowledge this. And I said, you know what? That's actually fair. I understand that. So it was worded as follows. Children should be taught that the only way to overcome racism is to acknowledge U.S. society, laws, and institutions are inherently racist, and some are disadvantaged no matter what they do. 2 in 10. That's it. That's it. Even, again, in Virginia, like we found nationwide, if critical race theory was up for referenda statewide, and only African Americans could vote, nobody else, it would still fail. So again, nothing at all to fear for going after these things. All right, one more thing, and then we'll go to our buddy Don and get to Q&As. Don has some stuff he wants to share with you. I have some stuff I want to share with you. Transgender student participating on sports teams alongside the gender they identify with, such as biological males who identify as female joining a biological soccer team or vice versa. I mean, ridiculous. 56 opposed, 26 support, 30, an opposed 30 margin. There and across the board, guys, this is opposed 36. Competing for sports scholarships is opposed 36. Transgender students using locker rooms and bathroom facilities with the gender they identify with, opposed 30.1. Gender neutral bathrooms, which I don't think they fully understood, was still all opposition intensity. 39 strongly opposed. Only 19% strongly supported. Another 19% supported. Another 12% opposed. You would have to be absolutely foolish to not hit the ground running if you're the Republican Party who just took over a clean sweep in the state of Virginia. By the way, what's left in the state of Virginia, I want to just talk about real quick. Really good point. Hold on one second. Hold on. There are 3 House seats still not called yet. However, you have 2 the Republican is leading in. 1 the Democrat is leading in. Already right now, Republicans in the House of Delegates are at 50. Democrats are at 47. It's possible. Yeah, we still have. Yeah, this is still. I just checked. Yeah, the last one was Tara Durant, who won District 28. That brought Republicans to a tie. That left House Delegate seat 21, where the Democrat was currently leading, which was very difficult considering the way the vote shifted in that district. Very difficult for her to hold on. She, in fact, is still holding on slightly, and it would probably be difficult for the Republican to overturn that, but still it's so close, very close, that people are holding off. House Delegate 85, Republican is currently leading. House Delegate 92, the Republican is currently leading. One of those leads I went over yesterday on a locals live stream is substantial, and that probably will be the first one to be called. All right, because with that little vote still out, overturning almost more than a full point is going to be difficult. When we're talking about 2/10, 3/10, 4/10 of a percentage point, it's it's doable if the vote is very lopsided. But it's not doable. Well, I don't want to make proclamations, but it's incredibly difficult for those leads to be overturned. So Republicans are looking at least 50, upwards of 52, a 50-50 split, but really upwards of 52 seats, which it looks like almost assured to be 51-49, likely to be 52-48, okay? Mm-hmm. Because I do think that Democrats going to hold on, which will give Democrats 48 seats, and Republicans are most likely to take the other two. All right, let's go. But if they do lose, Republicans do lose one, that'll still give them that that 51-49 majority, and they should go, to the wall when they get that government.
And if you don't, you're a fool.
Yep.
And you
deserve
ruined everything.
You ruined everything. Laura's like,
I'm just
and there's a lot Glenn Youngkin. Honestly, there's a lot Glenn Youngkin can do on his own. And look at Ron DeSantis. The Department of Election Fraud. Now he's opened up. That's under the state. There's so much you could do. I'll tell you what. It only took Brenda Snipes getting yanked from that position to even have Broward County do almost an about 80 already. But to add that office really, sets out that warning, like, don't test me. Don't test me. It's there hovering. It's there hovering, though, like, I dare you. Try me. Right.
But I still am so suspicious. I think the Hispanic vote was higher for a long time. And we just noticed it because she finally...
That was the number one question I like when it came to Florida. That was like the number one question I got. Now that Linda and Brenda are gone, right? How is the Republican share of the vote dramatically higher in these strongholds? Broward was like a 23% Republican vote. 20%. No. But I mean, like your ceiling was like 23%. Yes. Miami was always a little bit different, where Republicans could do in the 30s, mid 30s to, if you really had a good night, maybe 40, and Trump he damn near carried it. It was very close in Miami. And in Broward, he significantly increased his vote share in Broward County. So, it left a lot of people who know and are familiar with Florida. Brenda is a crook. She is. I'm not going to play that game with her. We have got people have the goods on her. All right. She is a crook and a cheat. And the minute she was gone, everything ran like a well-oiled machine. What a shocker.
Not a coincidence.
Especially with the threat of prosecution over the heads of everybody remaining. Like, that was the mood in 2020. It was like, Pam Bondi, I think, may have put people in place before she said sayonara. Better be careful what you do, because, Ron is going to hammer you.
He's going to find you and get you.
He's going to get you. All right. Also, one more thing I just want to say about election before I bring on Don here, right in the half hour. One more thing I want to say. I want to show these, now that we have updated this little thing about election forecasters. This is what frauds these people are. This is the Google sheet that I sourced for that. Now that I updated it, since I put it on locals, I'll re-update it and put it back on locals. We'll have the margin really soon. I was going to wait until we had the margin finally and then put it up and show. This is the history that everybody was up against. And yet you could go back on all of their Twitter accounts, go look at all of their updates on the websites they have. And I'm talking about everybody from, Crystal Ball to the Cook Report and Washerman on Twitter, all of them. And actually, I have to give it to Dave Washerman. I found a tweet. I did. He didn't lament this narrative, but I did find a single tweet where he did seem to acknowledge that historically, I don't care what the polls say, historically, Democrats are unlikely to hold the governor's mansion in Virginia. One tweet. Now, he chose to do an about face and then harp on polls and act as if they're predictive. Well, some are. Some aren't. All right. But this was the history they were up against. And to pretend as if anything was ever different is dishonest. We've been here now too many times. Voting behavioral patterns, historical patterns, they matter. And oftentimes they will be right more than polls will be right. And I don't know how many more damn elections we have to go through until we see that. Indeed, they do. Indeed, they do. I just wanted to put that up there. They should learn something from North Carolina Republicans. They should the rest of the country should learn from this middle colony to southern southern state Republicans,
Didn't we get 52?
No, not 52 yet,
back?
but it can. Nope. Republicans are still leading in two, and Democrats are still leading in one. But there's 172 vote margin in one, where in Virginia, in House Delegate 91, I think it is. There's the Democrat technically could overcome that margin.
Okay. So
But the other margin would be, if it happens, it would be. No, I mean, I'd be smelling something. If I'm saying if the Democrat comes behind, and that's like, yeah.
Sorry,
Get on the. You need a cup of coffee this morning or something.
Richard.
I know you've been tired,
I'm
but
exhausted.
get a cup of coffee. Take a snooze or something.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I'll take a snooze after the show.
Yeah. Where are we going here? You know what? And it's more than just. I just want to say, definitely more than just the margin. A big part. Any decent pollster. I said this on the local stream yesterday. Any halfway decent pollster can at least find the general vote preference for major demographic groups. A little off here and there, but if you're halfway decent, at least, you should be able to say, well, how are whites going to vote? And this is actually, they have, many of these pollsters have a problem even doing that. Mm-hmm. But once you get past that, which really does take being able to find certain people that they're not talking to. And I was just talking to a vendor. I sent them back an email this morning because they were super happy we did it again, and they were, saying, yeah, I just, congratulations kind of thing. And part of it is being able to, not big part, it's like step one, being able to reach all of those people so you can get an accurate vote preference for any specific demographic group. And then the second part is really who is going to come out in what percentage. And a major problem that the other pollsters had in this race is that they modeled the race, even though Suffolk University, for instance, they had the independent vote pretty close. They understood how that was going to break. They actually had the partisan, the partisan support for each candidate pretty close. Some of their racial demographic vote preference was messed up, but generally what they did wrong was they modeled a little bit too liberal of an electorate, and that made them think that Terry McAuliffe could actually eke it out with a +1 if it was D +3, and they modeled it D +3. The truth is Terry McAuliffe needed, I think they modeled it D +2. The truth is Terry McAuliffe needed a bigger Democrat advantage than D +2. And that's what they did. They gave him a +3, a Democratic electorate. And that's what gave him the ability to eke it out by 1 point. The Washington Post gave him an even bigger liberal advantage to get to a McAuliffe +1, which should have told you that the race was really moving, Youngkin. Because once pollsters start doing that and you know their game, then you know they're reweighting to be able to keep him in the lead. And that's what the Washington Post did. This is the paper that printed Biden +17 in Wisconsin. So until they prove otherwise, I don't have to prove the aspersions I'm lobbing their way. And they're not even aspersions. I am saying it. I'm accusing it. I'm leveling it. They're doing it on purpose. I'm not trying to be vague here with aspersions. So that was the wrong word. I'm not casting anything. I'm saying they did that crap on purpose. The Monmouth poll. They saw it. If it's an even electorate, it's an even race. If it's R1 or D1, any which way, then that person's going to win. That party's going to win. And that candidate's going to win by that margin. We saw it right, which was that it was going to be slightly D. It just wasn't going to be enough. And by the way, this is the most conservative electorate we've seen in a while, which was really a hell of a thing for us to model. Also, by the way, Laura and I saw it because we were on the road. Laura and I saw it when we were setting up for the show. In case you didn't notice, they revised those exit polls and ticked down conservative to 36%. Yeah. So we actually were not at 37. We are back down to 36, which is basically right on the damn money. And there we have that. All right, it's 12:31. I really want to bring in my good friend Don Smith. All right, I see him over there in the queue. Are you ready, my friend? Are you ready? Here's the thumbs up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Don Smith from the Don Smith Show, our Friday guest, as always. How we doing, my friend?
We're doing great. How are you doing?
Living the dream, as always. Living the dream.
Unlike you guys, I don't like the cold. So I'd like to push it back up to you guys.
From Wisconsin. He's Florida now.
I had enough
cold. The man
cold.
Is from Wisconsin, and he doesn't like the cold.
I don't like it. I hate it.
So what's your take on overall? What's your take on what happened here this week, Don?
Well, I think the air smells a little fresher. Just amazing. I think it was great results, and it was all the things that we've been talking about leading up to the actual election. You know, it was the messaging. It was the fact that they've completely lost control of that was just, to me, amazing to watch. And it's even more amazing now post-election to see them doubling down, playing the race card. I mean, you've got Winsome Sears, and look how the left is talking about her. Just incredible. So it was. I think I really horrible. I believe this was a bellwether for what's going to happen in the midterms. I think they better have learned their lesson, and I hope the Republicans really paid attention to exactly what happened here and the importance of education, because it doesn't necessarily get talked about as much as things like the economy and all these kind of things. It's become a national issue, and everybody better pay attention to that, because they can sit here and say this stuff isn't being taught all they want. It's being taught, and these are the parents saying this. So maybe attacking parents isn't a good campaign strategy. I hope the leftists didn't hear that. But yeah, really bad strategy all the way around. He was a horrible candidate. And I'm talking about the Virginia race, Terry McAuliffe, horrible candidate. Anger is not a good thing, right? I mean, we've learned this, but I think the real lesson here was the way the Youngkin campaign handled the Trump situation. I mean, that was the elephant in the room, right? So they tried to pin that to him. They tried to make it all about that. I thought he handled it really well. It depends on what part of the country you're in. I mean, Trump thing could be used against you in certain places. In some places, it's going to be very helpful. So people need to understand that, have a little, I think, understanding of the electorate and how a campaign needs to be run. So it's going to be different all across the country, and that'll be interesting to watch going into the midterms. But great election night. I made it till about 12:30 in the morning, and I'm like, I don't want to go to bed because, right? I mean, he's winning, and I'm like, I'm going to wake up and he's going to be down, by 20 points or something. So I was pleasantly surprised when I woke up and saw the results in that. And let's not forget what happened in New Jersey. I mean, that was pretty strong. Most people didn't even know who was running against Chitterelli. Most people didn't know who he was. and look how
Yep.
well he did. So so I hope everybody on the right, strategists, I hope they all paid attention and they take some good lessons away from this, because there was a lot of lessons in those two at least campaigns.
Well, there's a lesson for Rona and the Republican Governors Association,
Mhm.
because it's not an affirmation of them. In an
Right.
election like this, those people in New Jersey just walked in and voted Republican because they were voting not Democrat. That's basically, I'm serious. And, you
Mhm.
know, Chitterell did a fantastic job going from, Laura and I even recognize those diners, going diner to diner to diner. That's how you
Mhm.
win in New Jersey, by the way. If you're
Yeah.
a Republican, you can't do it any other way. You can't. Chris Christie was the man. Do you remember
Yeah.
that back in?
Yep.
The guy was everywhere. It's every day. You know, and back then I used to work I was trying to get away from like the stock noise, and I was working like in an
Yep.
office in Manasquan, New Jersey, and the guy was like just all, you know, he's just everywhere. It was like 1 minute he's in Manasquan, the next minute he's all the way in like Wall Township, or then Bergen. By the way, I mean he campaigned hard in Bergen County up north,
Yep.
which Jack did very well in. You know, but I think that they are still stupid Washington thinkers, whereas you know they really thought that those races weren't really competitive and all eyes on Virginia and blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
Don, they better take their heads out of their butts. There are many, many, many places that are competitive, especially in an off election year, in a year when you're the party out of power. This is the time to strike. And Democrats are smarter strategically than Rona and the rest of the crowd is. That they should star. I mean, you have to acknowledge it. They know I can maybe compete here, not all the time, but I can do it right now. Because once you get that incumbency, it's hard to take it away. Like Alyssa Slotkin should never have won Michigan 8. Virginia 7, Abigail is gone. She's gone now, but she got to stay there for 4. How much damage did Abigail Spanberger do in 4 years, in 2 terms? You know, so, you know, the lesson is don't abandon any voter who may want to talk. And I have to say, I have put this up here, Life of Brian. Is anyone more responsible for Youngkin's win than Chris Rufo? I mean, well, I look, give Chris his due credit. There's no doubt he did fantastic work. It was more than critical race theory in Virginia.
Yeah.
If you look at
Yep.
the exit polls, and we showed you guys this, our numbers were a little bit bigger, as 30 plus points for them. This is parental status if you have school age children. Look at that vote among men. It's absolutely huge. All right.
Mhm.
And then look at, and because I'm going to actually bring up the exit polls and show people here. And then bring up, and then look at that female with children under the age of 18 that are school age. That's actually close. In Virginia, that number is really never close. We had it about 5 points. Let me show you right now what it was on the exit polls. I'm going to share them. Okay. And I'm going to make a point here. I got a point to make. Here's the CNN exit polls. That's, you know, they're as good as any. All right. Well, that's it. But Fox because Fox actually had men with children 30 points. Okay.
Mhm.
And if you have women with children, it was actually closer to, but anyway, women with children, 6-point margin. We had a 5-point margin. Men with children was almost a 20-point margin. We had it a 30-plus point margin. By the way, Fox did have it a 30-plus margin. So Fox is all a little bit more encompassing. Other people that, you know, the exit polls may have missed, which they did miss, you know, but they're reweighting them as time goes on anyway. So they're trying to get more accurate. This doesn't resemble at all what it looked like on election day and election night, folks. They changed this dramatically. All right. But that is not simply from critical race theory. Don, that's from the rape.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
the rape.
Yep.
And the feelings with transgender bathrooms was strong. They were strong. They were really strong. And we did a thing. What did we say? We put up a thing trying to tell people this is the revenge of the
daddies.
protective daddy.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, these people are coming out in force. Not only could you get my little girl sexually assaulted, thrice sexually assaulted, sodomized, sexually assaulted, and orally sexually assaulted, and then you try to speak up in her defense and get drug away like a domestic terrorist.
Yep.
I'm getting mad, and I'm just sitting here. I don't live in Virginia and have my kids having to go through those crazy school systems.
Right.
I'm telling you, there were men who probably wouldn't have dreamed of voting Republican in this election, with kids who voted Republican because of that girl. And I can't tell you, the more the people told us they were aware of that story, right, Laura?
Yes.
When we first started, Don, it was like 31, 32%
Not many.
who knew about. And Youngkin was smart, saying, I'm calling for an investigation, which he better do. I'm calling for an investigation. That rose the attention level. That took it away from just a alternative media, conservative, Daily Wire story, and put it more into the mainstream. And then Fox News started covering it, and others, and people started searching for it. Like, what are they talking about? And the next thing you know, people knew.
Yeah, and it's not just in that case. So that was a huge factor for sure. I said this throughout the pandemic. The pandemic for the left was great in the 2020 election. I mean, they set this whole thing up. They got exactly what they wanted for as far as how we vote now and all these kind of things. It was that fear factor, all those kind of things. But as that was happening, as everybody was home, the kids were at home being homeschooled and, the online learning thing. What that did was showed parents what's really being taught in the schools. So they can sit here and they can deny all these things all they want. Everybody saw it with their own eyes. They were more involved with their children's education than they've ever been before. And they were like, what is going on here? So the pandemic may have helped them in 2020, but not going forward. It's hurt them. And that was all the things that parents learned about what their kids were being taught. And don't take on parents. That's a really, really bad strategy. And that's what we saw here.
Yeah, and I would say too, that generally cost of living, inflation, Youngkin did a really good job. I mean, Chris, like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from Chris Rufo, but it wouldn't have mattered what Chris Rufo brought to the forefront if they didn't make the decisions they made. And that decision was to stick to the issues that voters cared about. 2 weeks, especially the final two. I'm looking at these numbers. I'm listening to both candidates. I'm watching the numbers shift. Daily basis increase in Youngkin's lead among independents. A daily basis. 2.4 of a percentage point, sometimes one, jump of one. It was very clearly a surge. And all I could think of is one stays on message. And we have those top 4 issues. And one is, especially the top 3. They were all Republican dominated. COVID fell to number 4 at the very end. Yeah. COVID fell to number 4. People were just like, I don't know. And like you said, if you chose COVID, it didn't necessarily mean that you were a McAuliffe voter. Unlike if you chose one of the other issues, you were much overwhelmingly leaning to Youngkin. So Youngkin's talking about jobs in the economy. Youngkin's talking about education, inflation, all of these issues people care about. And Terry McAuliffe is dancing around like an idiot talking about Donald Trump. I mean, and then bringing in Barack Obama to tell parents that their concerns not only are you would think he would bring him in to say, oh, no, you have your concerns at heart. We have your interests at heart. No, he was like, you're stupid if you think it's real.
Yep. Stupid and racist.
Stupid and by the way, man, has Jameel Hill always been such a damn racist?
Yeah.
That woman is a racist, Don.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever noticed it. I mean, I've heard stuff, but has she always been a filthy racist like that? I mean, she should be removed from the internet. What the hell is she even doing working at that network?
Yep.
The woman clearly hates white people. Clearly.
How about Joy Reid?
Another one.
Oh my
and
goodness.
She's worse. She hates white people. She hates gay people. She hates everybody.
Yep. She's an equal opportunity hater.
Well, look, I don't want to miss it though. I know, let me see. I couldn't figure out how to take something off. Maybe if you did, but I really wanted to play a clip. But why don't you tell people what you got going on here? We just had Ivan Igor, I'm going to butcher his name. Deshenko arrested. Was in the New York Times. He was arrested yesterday. That comes after Michael Sussman. These are all the people who tried to set up the former president. Russia collusion is a hoax, is a fraud. As a public opinion pollster point of view, it's really interesting to study how people still believe it. And there is some who still believe it. And there are still media outlets who still try to push it. It's incredible. People won Pulitzers based on a fake story. that was concocted, and now it's all falling apart. They tried to set up Michael Flynn as well. And tell people what you got going on here, because
Well, yes.
I heard this is a dynamite interview.
Oh yeah, we had in preparation for General Paul Vallely's show on Monday, we sat down yesterday for 50 minutes with General Michael Flynn. Amazing. It was an incredible interview. So I mean, when we do the show, I produce it, but I'm always there at the beginning. We bring the guest in, and then I kind of drop off into the background. And to sit there for 48 of those minutes and watch these two generals discuss all these issues was just, it was awesome. I mean, it was awesome to just be sitting there. I had to keep reminding myself, okay, you're producing, so make sure you don't just watch. But it was an amazing interview. Talked about what happened to him. I mean, he went into some detail about all the things behind the scenes that maybe a lot of people don't know about, but also talked about the team around Trump and what he watched from afar at that point, and how it all ended. So it was really a cool thing to go from the beginning of the National Security Advisor thing, and we all know how that turned out. But he gave some specifics that I've never heard him give before. He was very passionate, but to listen to these two, that's the thing about General Vallely's show, is when he talks to people, it's a different conversation than maybe I can have with people, because, they're like, yes, sir. I mean, he outranks General Flynn. So the interaction they have is super cool. And it was the same thing with Lee Greenwood the week before. Lee Greenwood was always like, he wouldn't talk about politics, or he wouldn't get ideological.
Right.
But with General Vallely, he did. He talked about Fox News. He talked about a lot of things that I've never been able to get out of him. So it's just neat to see that interaction. But General Flynn was amazing. Incredible interview. That'll be on Monday at noon Eastern time. I did a live stream. So if you're following me on Locals, donsmithshow.locals.com. I gave a link in there, an unlisted link, so you could come in and ask questions and things like that. So kind of something exclusive for the Locals community. But we'll be showing the whole broadcast on Monday at noon Eastern time. So definitely check that out. It's my YouTube channel. You can also find the link inside of Locals as well. But really, really cool stuff. Then after that,
hold on, pop it. Did you get that? Because if not, I'll have them repeated. It looks like, hey, what show was that? Somebody said, so I want to make sure that you got that right, pop it, because you don't want to miss that. I heard this is a fiery interview, and it's very good.
Really
so
good.
I haven't seen it yet. I just heard some stuff about it. I mean, we were going to play a clip for you here today, but I couldn't get the dang thing, man. So I don't know. Maybe I'll figure it out. We got to make that work, Don, so we can start showing people little 30-second clips or something. But go ahead.
Yeah. So that's really cool. He was really candid about a lot of different things. He even talked about Greg Abbott. They talked about a lot of different things, and it just amazing stuff. Like I said, 50-minute interview. And for me, sitting there was just like really cool to be a part of that.
Tell them again one more time where they can see that Flynn interview.
So
miss it.
DonSmithShow.locals.com. Check it out there. It's, of course, Don Smith Show on my YouTube channel. It's on there as well. We also stream on Rumble. So I put all those links, though, inside of Locals. Put them out on my Twitter, too. But trying to get more people to follow us inside of Locals. I think that's the future, man. I mean, we're getting shut down all the time. And the other platforms are great. Rumble's cool. But the other platforms, you got to be really careful. So I'm surprised they didn't shut us down when we had that stream going, because it was a no holds barred interview for sure. You'll definitely want to check that out. But then after that, I had an opportunity to sit down with Peter Navarro. Incredible. So, I mean, the General Flynn thing was really cool, but to sit down with Peter Navarro, and we had 15 minutes with him. Man, this guy just laid it all out. He was part of the coronavirus task force. He was one of only 3 in the administration that was there from the campaign all the way through to the last day. And you want to talk about somebody who wasn't afraid to say anything. This guy was awesome. He talked about Fauci, and that was the clip that I had put up inside of Locals there, where you can see what he has to say. And you'll see right away that the guy, this was right at the very beginning of the interview. He lays it all out. He was like, here's what happened on the very first meeting. Here's what happened as things went forward. So if you really want to know who Dr. Fauci is, I think most people probably have a pretty good idea by now. But he was there. He was in those rooms. He talks also about Mike Pence. He talks about what happened where they were going to challenge the election results, what Mike Pence's role was. He talked about it was Steve Bannon's plan, the Green Bay sweep, they called it. And then when the stuff happened at the Capitol, Mike Pence got all, cold feet, and as Peter Navarro said, he threw an interception. Everybody else did their part. Everybody else did what they were supposed to do, and Mike Pence let them down. And he does not hold anything back on Mike Pence, how he feels about him. And I agree
that's the thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
I was just going to say I agreed with everything he said, and the interview was just. It was just awesome. He talks about that team too. He talks about what happened at the end. He talks about Mattis. He talks about all of them. He just lays it all out. He tells you who the good guys were and who the enemy within was. So just a really, really cool interview. He's an amazing guy, and he's pretty funny too.
That's the thing that I had heard, kind of knew about with Pence. I understand even the conclusion that he drew, very difficult. Because Laura's, I could see her over here. But because if you know,
I'm with you, Laura.
if you know how it went down, which now obviously, if you watch this interview, you'll know.
Yep.
He's a liar.
Yep.
He's a liar and a coward. And I can tell you, after you go watch this interview, and when you do, remember this: we were just 5 feet away from him.
Literally.
And he was telling everybody that they were basically going to fight to the death on this thing, and that they were working on, how he was going to basically put together his thing, and how they were going to make it happen, and support the president in the Senate and stop, fight it, Then he just pulls this about face and dumps this last minute letter explaining why he can't do it, which claims he doesn't have the historic precedent, which is a lie. That's not historically true. Number one, it's happened twice in this country. And, it then went dark on everybody, Don. It's like, if you can't defend, if fine, you want to make a decision and change your mind, be a man and then face the people you screw over. Right? Laura's over here pointing at me like, damn right, that's the problem. Be a man and face the people that you lied to and or let down and disappointed because you had told them something totally different. Yep. Secondly, don't use a fake excuse. So one, the media is going to help you with. From nothing more there can be no greater betrayal for a conservative than for when you do get betrayed by a so-called fellow conservative or populist, whatever you want to call yourself. You're on the right, you're not on the left. It's with something that the media is going to help him lie to you with. So the media, you think they can't do some research? You think they don't know the other two examples in history? Of course they can figure it out, and they can make up why it doesn't really apply. We didn't have in the one, definitely. We didn't have popular votes. That's that elected presidents, but that's really irrelevant. We had a constitutional crisis where the electors were in doubt, and the vice president stepped in. It's absolutely doable. It happens. You going to tell Thomas Jefferson he's wrong? Thomas Jefferson was wrong. Did Thomas Jefferson step out of line and violate the Constitution? Dude, Mike Pence is smarter than John Adams?
Yeah,
are you serious?
One thing
It's a trip and fall on his face. Lying.
One of the things I didn't know about this was, when the plan was in place, the Green Bay sweep, again, it was Steve Bannon's thing. And when the plan was in place and Mike Pence didn't show up, he was the only guy. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. And when Mike Pence didn't show up, all of a sudden from the Situation Room, he calls Peter Navarro. And he calls him. Peter Navarro comes to they're like, you got a call from the vice president. He goes, he picks up the phone, and he's talking to him, and nobody's talking back. And then the line goes dead.
Yeah.
So he calls back to the Situation Room.
That's what I'm saying. He went radio dark on him, man.
Yep. So he calls back to the Situation Room, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Something came up, and he's got to go do this, but he'll call you right back." And he never did. There was no call back. It was all over then. So he does not hold back on what he thinks about Mike Pence. And he said he liked him before everything. He had a good relationship with him. I
warned them all about him. Yep. Anyone who would listen, he was Paul Ryan's buddy. Yep. They were friends, really good friends. He was part of that whole wing of the conservative. He was more conservative than Ryan. He was. And Ryan was like a policy wonk who thought, no, if I give and take on these certain issues, while Pence would like hold up, be one of those who wanted like, oppose TARP at least at first. So you are who, that's why your parents tell you kids that, be careful who you roll with, because you get associated with who you roll with. And he was more Ryan than Trump. I'm sorry, man. And who did they send down every time during the healthcare debate? Who kept going down to Capitol Hill to try to, talk with Paul Ryan and say, what the hell is going on? It was Mike Pence. These damn conservatives, Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan, these guys are a pain in our butt. We could have passed this token repeal if it wasn't for those pesky conservatives who actually want us to keep our promise. That's what happened during the healthcare debate. Paul Ryan lied right to everybody's face, told everybody they had a plan. Mike Pence tried to use his weight as the vice president to lean on conservatives who didn't want to sell out the voter for Paul Ryan. They got some crappy, skinny repeals through that insulted the intelligence of the conservative base. Would have been better than Obamacare if you're a conservative, but still. And then it all failed anyway because crusty John McCain put his crusty thumb down because he left this world a bitter, rotten, unhappy, disgusting old man. Sorry.
Yeah, that's something that I don't know how long.
Not sorry.
I don't know how long it'll take us to recover from that whole thing with the whole healthcare debate, because I mean, how many times did we hear that from the Paul Ryans and the McCains and a lot of them, where they were like, well, we're going to repeal and replace, and we've got another plan. They never came to us with a plan. They never presented anything. They didn't repeal anything. They just never followed through on that. And we talk about voter enthusiasm a lot. You want to kill voter enthusiasm. Spend 6 years lying about something you're going to do, and you never do, and you never even come up with a plan. So
Don, you remember it. I showed you. You remember it. I showed you the numbers. The weekend that he did, the weekend after he did that, I showed Don. I'm like, look at this chart. Extreme enthusiasm. Red. Bottomed right out. Democrats were like, low. Goodbye. I said, we're done. We're going to get Republicans are going to get wiped off the map. And that's what happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we take forever, like you said. It's going to take a long time to recover, man. Because
it is.
You remember, Republicans. Well, education, took a long time for Republicans to win on education too. But when was the last time you saw Republicans leading on the question of healthcare? You'd have to go back to the midterms, right? I mean, that's it. I'm talking about 2010, right?
Yep.
And then they blew that. Democrats actually did take back the edge of healthcare in Obama's reelection effort in 2012, which was brilliant how he did that, even though it was horrible. Like Mitt Romney killed my wife because he took her healthcare away and she got cancer. That was horrible, but brilliant.
Yep.
So
that was the Joe Soptic lie. That was his wife died and then it turned out she didn't even work for the company. It was like, I mean, it's a bad situation to have somebody's wife pass away, but to try to make it about, another granny off the cliff. But the bottom line, I don't care, the parties, I think this is one of the things is accountability. And on the left, they don't do that. They don't hold people accountable. Look at all the things that have been broken already with Joe Biden. He's saying about like the $450,000. Oh, that's a garbage story. ACLU comes out and said, you made that promise to us on the campaign trail. That's why we gave you a whole bunch of money. But on the right, I think we're a little bit better about that. And I think that's why there was a bigger impact on them not following through on that, because they kept promising it over and over and over again. And then nothing. I mean, after 6 years, it's like, well, we don't even have a plan. It's like, that frustrated maybe every single conservative.
But he sat down to Sean Hannity, looked him square in the eye and said, we got a plan. Remember? And Sean's like, you have a consensus plan. You're sitting here right now tonight telling me that Republicans in the House have a consensus plan. Oh, we got a plan. You know what he reminded me of? Fred Claus, Vince Vaughn. He needs the money for the down payment. And he's like, oh, no, I got the $50,000. Maybe you're not understanding. I got to get it. It's liquid. I got to lick. I'm not licking. I got to get it liquid, but I got it. Oh, the problem's not money here. You know, I mean, I was like, oh man, we're having a freaking Vince
You give
Vaughn,
me 16,
Fred
I'll
Claus.
give you back 10.
Yeah, how about
then-
this? Yeah, how about you just give me that $10,000? Let me hold on, let me blow that up to 20, and then bam, Merry Christmas, $10,000.
Yep.
Oh my God, we got to get that clip and play that clip because that's Paul Ryan, and it's not just Paul Ryan. It's like that last clip that was just up on the screen. They're all the same, man. They're all the same. By the way, so are the networks. Fox is going to end up just like them. Fox would have called that race on Tuesday if it was for Terry McAuliffe. You're damn right it would have. All right, they were waiting for the AP. For the people who want the backstory, actually, Eric Bolling gave a great backstory on Newsmax the other day. I don't know if it's still up or available, about how in 2016 he went up to the decision desk, and I had an issue, a Twitter war with them in 16 as well, where it was very clear going into that day that North Carolina was gone for Hillary Clinton. Okay. Very clear. And yet everyone still thought Hillary Clinton was going to win North Carolina by like 4 to 6 points. The New York Times had a giant headline. It's Hillary by 2 to 6 or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. And Chris Steyerwalt hated Donald Trump. I mean, Eric Bolling will give some real personal insight to that. And then the other guy who runs the decision desk with Steyerwalt is very vehemently anti-conservative, and don't get me wrong, folks, when they say they claim to be a Republican, your version of a Republican is not the same as theirs. They're the 2% who tell you in polls they still approve of Joe Biden. That's them. They represent nothing and should just switch over to the Democratic Party, all right? Because it's not even, it's just not funny anymore. You're not a Republican. You're a fraud. You're a fraud. You're not real. You're like a, what's the word I'm looking for? You're like a double agent or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you don't belong here anymore. Right. So, anyway.
John McCain claimed to be a Republican too.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's a lot of people who keep saying that rhinoism is a disease. I can see it. But he said, that throughout the night, it was like, guys, North Carolina's gone. Why have you not, let alone have you not changed it from lean Hillary? It's over, and he kept going to them. And then he was like, every damn state, like, you think she's going to win Ohio when he's crushing it in Woods County and Trumbull is flipped? Like, the hell are you talking about? Like, this is not what they were not making decision based on data at all that night. And actually North Carolina was what that was over. I'm like, yeah, no, guys, it's done. It's over. North Carolina's gone. Like, this is not even, and they refused to move it. Florida, you remember, they continued to favor Hillary Clinton in Florida when Donald Trump was actually leading in Pinellas County. There was no prayer, Don. Maybe 1.2, 1.4, 1.5, whatever. It didn't matter. It still wasn't going to happen. There was not enough vote in Broward County and Miami-Dade. It was over. I mean, just unbelievable that so when you wonder whether or not Fox makes decisions based on politics, they absolutely do. They called the House for the Democrats in 2018 early when people were still voting in competitive districts in an effort to get back in the good graces of the media establishment world and to get back in the good graces of the DNC. They badly wanted their debate money, and that didn't happen. So, they went, they're pretending to swing back a little bit, but you saw their true colors on Tuesday. That race was over and they were the last to call it beyond after CNN, after MSNBC. Come on. So,
Absolutely.
what can I tell you? If you're a Republican in this day and age, Don, watch Newsmax. I don't know what to tell people.
So, I was just thinking about that.
Except for Tucker.
I was thinking back to the Lee Greenwood thing that I mentioned, where I've never heard him. I mean, Fox News is kind of an important venue for him to be able to, one of the few places that'll still have him on to sing a song and talk about what he's doing. And to hear him say that, and that's exactly what he said. Folks, if you want real conservative news, watch Newsmax. That's what I watch. It was like, wow. It blew me away because he would never do any of that. If I was interviewing him, he'd be like, well, they're okay, But he came right out and said it. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, just I do see some people asking about commenting on the new Jersey governor race. I mean, I think I did that a lot already. It was closer than people thought it was going to be, which I think
Mhm.
we told 2 months ago. We tried telling these people that race was close
Yep.
and that Chattarelli could win. They did not listen.
Yep.
They just kept marching on. Virginia, Virginia, Virginia. That's what happened, guys. I mean, that is what happened. Did Bergen County do something funny? I don't know. It's Bergen County, probably. I mean, New Jersey is the most
Yes.
corrupt state in the country. When it comes to electioneering, it's very dirty. I don't know what to say. This is learn a lesson from Virginians, which was they learned the lesson from 2020, and they said, you know what, not on our watch, not this time. So yeah, the New Jersey race I expect will be 3-4 to Murphy. All right, Bergen, Morrison, Somerset, exactly, and even Mercer, Black CK 3-19. Mercer still had some vote out, and that will get more. That will get more Democratic. A little bit more of a push could have done it. A little bit more of a push could have put Chattarelli over the edge. I mean, I know a very good pollster. He is very well known there. He doesn't poll publicly. Once I think, like New Jersey 101.5 hires him once in a while, right? And they'll say, how's the racing, whatever. You guys who are natives or you live there now, you know what I'm talking about. New Jersey 101.5. New Jersey 101.5. And they're the best morning drive time, or it was. And then they play oldies on the weekend. Everyone who's from New Jersey loves New Jersey 101.5. So he polls from them, and then he polls for typically Republican candidates. And I saw, his polling go from like 16, 19 to 10 done to like 7 to 3. And it was just, he was right. And that race was quickly tightening, and Biden's approval was pathetic in the state of New Jersey. So that's on them, buddy. That is on them. And, I told you, though, that it was very, very likely because of what was left out in the absentee vote that Murphy was going to take over. So, so it is what it is. It is. There's nothing you can do except unless you get your butts on the ground to stop it. There's really, and even then in New Jersey, good luck in some areas because they'll fight you for that ground. I'm serious, but that's on them. I mean, if people thought it was going to be closer, and I'm just going to look at this one thing, but I'm going to look at this.
One thing with Virginia that I think is a good lesson to learn is exactly what you kind of just said, was the people getting involved on the ground. And I think that's one of the things. There was a big swell of that in Virginia. So there was a lot more people as compared to New Jersey who were on the ground. They got into the polling places. That's for people who sit around and go, hey, what can I do?
I'm looking at some comments about Rich laughing about cheating. Look, you're pissing in the wind. Did you go out to the polling place and watch on Tuesday or not? So don't tell I'll laugh. I'll laugh, but it doesn't matter. I'll laugh if I want to laugh. I'm the one who sits months on, days in, day in and day out, years and year out, talking about this. So if I want to laugh about it, I'll laugh about it, and that's it. Did you go to a polling place on Tuesday and keep a watch out for absentee ballot or witness signatures that didn't match or signature verification that didn't match? That's it. So I laugh at that. Because year and year after year after year, the very first election I ever participated in at the presidential level, I watched cheating in Asbury Park like crazy in New Jersey. This has been going on forever. And some people are pretending like this is just like now and it just happened to Donald Trump. This has been going on forever and nobody wanted to do anything about it. So get out of here.
We see a lot of stuff. Okay, so
outrage pissing in the wind.
I'm on the ground with these campaigns, inside of them. So, and you're doing you're also doing that too, but you're doing the polling things. We see stuff that we see a lot of stuff that we don't share with people because maybe you can't totally prove it. You don't want to be listed as this or that, or people.
I got a breaking announcement here, and I'm very sorry, but Edward Durr, the decision desk, actually I just saw the. I don't. Maybe my thing just updated, but the decision check just came on Edward Durr. He beat Sweeney. It's official. So I knew we all thought he was going to beat Sweeney, but it just clicked. It just showed up. And I didn't check it last night before I went, to bed. I was in late. We got back late. And I really didn't check it this morning. So it may have been up. It just now updated because it's when you go to look, it makes another API call and it shows you what was there before. So sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to say
no worries.
That's incredible. Incredible. And spent a whole day on it. Spent a whole day on it talking about internal campaign polling support players matter. Just telling you about it. That was about 2 months ago, I think, or something like that. Spent a whole day on it. All right, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we see a lot of things that we don't necessarily report because maybe you don't have all the stuff to be able to prove it to somebody else.
Sure.
But we see it, we live it, we know what's going on here. Just look at the dumpster fire of the McAuliffe campaign. The way they ran that thing shouldn't even have been that. Think about it. I mean, that should have been a 10, 20 point win, right? For Youngkin in a real fair election where everything's just, even keel, just based on what he ran and the fact that he was attacking parents and all these kind of things. So we see things that we don't necessarily always talk about. But yeah, get in those polling places, get out there, get involved in this election process. The more people are involved in that, the less of that will be able to be allowed to happen, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, and sometimes things are odd, but you can't bring it to, for instance, in 2012, the Romney team, so stupid. And by the way, they mocked people, those of us who brought up concerns about Orca, right? And especially, I'll never forget this one. He was I don't think he wants me to give his name, but he was an older gentleman, and Romney's Matt something was campaign. It was in charge of Orca, and he brings it up to him and he says, listen, I'm an older guy here, but I'm a pretty techie guy. Have you checked this? Like, have you done a dry run of this? Because it looks to me it's very exploitable, and I'm not sure you have enough servers to be able to keep the load, to keep up with the load that you're going to be putting, this app will be bringing to bear on the server. And I mean, he just demeaned and mocked this guy, right? And I said also, one of the things I had said was you didn't categorize what was potential violations of the law, right? So you may witness something that is going on, and then there was a button, a request for an attorney, and I was trying to basically scrutinize the app. That was my role anyway. And I said, well, you really should have categorized violations. Like, somebody could say something stupid. You got a million attorneys everywhere to run around and jump down, run from Alachua County to Broward County to whatever, people don't know a lot. Not everyone is an expert on election law, and there should be some, gradable things. So I'm observing somebody using it on election day. Yeah. And what was happening was really stupid stuff. Like, Don, if a white man who appeared to be 30 years old or more would walk in, the polling ladies in Alachua County would challenge his signature. All right. If it was somebody whose signature did not look like it matched at all, but demographically, they looked like they were an Obama voter, they would not challenge that signature. And if a Republican stepped in and said, hey, whoa, I don't like this, they would just basically railroad him and go on. So I'm watching Mitt Romney's people sitting there clicking the damn app for all of these different times that this is going on. Of course, we all know now the app did not work. All right. And there was 2 other people that were there. And there were both of them. Is yours working? Is yours working? Nothing was working. On my version, the whole thing was red. I mean, it was a massive failure of the Romney campaign. But it's like little things like that, Don, that you can do. And it's not ballot stuffing. It's not tearing up somebody's vote. It's just what's the word I'm looking for? Like arbitrary scrutiny. And if you're not there to witness it, then they're just going to do it all night, baby. Believe that.
Let me give one example that just happened that everybody's aware of. So this is one thing you can talk about, and it's the whole deal that happened on the Youngkin stop, right? And this was the Lincoln Project, supposedly. Yeah. The Lincoln Project doesn't have that kind of sway to be able to do something like that on a Democratic campaign. That was 100% done by the McAuliffe campaign, and they just used the Lincoln Project to be the fall guy because it used to be Republicans. And anyway, look what happened. Look what they did. And if you think that is the first time the Democrats have done that. You don't know anything about how all this works. It's just in this case with the internet and all the information available that people were like, oh, boom. And it was so easy to catch them on that one. Folks, they catch them maybe 1 out of every 1,000 times they do that stuff. And that's the stuff I'm talking about that happens when you're out on the campaign stop and you don't have time to stop and investigate every single one of those things that happens. But that was just one example that everybody is aware of. And I'll say it one more time. The Lincoln Project does not have that kind of sway to be able to get involved in that aspect on any campaign. It's much less a governor race for a Democrat in Virginia. That was 100% McAuliffe. And you got to understand that this stuff happens all the time. And in this case, they just happen to get busted. It's the 1 out of 1,000 times.
You know, that's funny you put that, because what do you think about the other day? All right, you think they just basically were the fall guys like I do, right? So for what happened the other day with that little tiki torch stunt. And then the follow-up day, 3 journalists, all very much known for being partisan hacks and basically operatives. I mean, very dishonest people. They just happened to catch faceless men wearing these Confederate flag outfits. You know what was so funny about... You know what was actually so funny about it? They should just stick to the ballot stuffing tactics, because in fact, a majority in the state of Virginia wanted to leave the Confederate stuff in place. They want the statues, the monuments, the flags, the history. It's history. You don't erase history because it hurts somebody's feelings. Don, is there any history? Is there any empire, nation state, civilization, historical era that we could look at and say something might not hurt someone's feelings? Like, should we stop studying ancient Egyptians because it might offend the Jews?
The Romans, every single, there is no country that doesn't have history of, and we shouldn't run away from that. And that's the thing they're trying to say now, is that, well, we just don't want slavery taught. Nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying we don't want to talk about the truth. What we're saying is we don't want to make kids feel bad about the color of their skin. And they didn't oppress anybody. And nobody was oppressed in that classroom of 3rd grade kids. That's all we're saying, is teach the history. You know, what happened in the slavery was a horrible thing. It's a stain on the country. And we all should talk about that. The Civil War. We should talk about that. Why did that happen? So nobody's saying don't teach history. Nobody is saying that. But look what they're doing. They just keep pounding that in. What's this? The kinder care group now. You see that? If your child's 6 weeks old, it's time to start talking to them about oppression and. Come on, people. This is the thing.
Give me a break.
Why do you think they're pushing they're pushing free pre-K? Why do you think they want your kids when they're 3 years old in the classroom? That's why. Yeah.
And I just don't, I don't know of any. I remember my grandfather, Italian immigrant. He hated that victim culture. And he was like, had Sicilian. And, what the Moors did to the Sicilians. I mean, as if there's nowhere you can go that you can't find somebody who was oppressed by someone. And that includes we're always talking about the Native Americans and the plight they had. And look, the Trail of Tears was just awful. But at the same time, long before the white men ever came around, the Europeans ever came around, whatever you want to call them, they were killing each other too. I mean, they enslaved each other. This is like crazy, this idea that when do you get past it, Don? If you constantly lament on it, how do you expect anyone to get past it? And Larry Sabato saying that if Youngkin wins, if Republicans win, it's because they inject. You've been around like me, Don, a long time. Isn't it just sad to see what that man has become?
Yes.
Republicans inject race into the election. Are you kidding me? Yep. The Democratic Party would not even survive if it wasn't for racial tension. They wouldn't be able to win any elections because they don't have enough support from a broad demographic coalition. They need black voters to monolithically vote for them. So can we just stop the crap? So they keep up this racial victimization and racial tension in this country at great risk to everyone's personal safety, at great risk to people's prosperity because they want them downtrodden.
Yep.
They do that because they need 92%.
You know,
And this fraud has the audacity
Yep.
to say that after being around for 30 years, like more than,
Yep.
whatever it's been.
You know
Has
what?
it been 30 years already? I think it has. Holy
You know what
crap.
modern slavery is in America today? It's white leftists, but not just white leftists. It's the Joy Reids and it's everybody thinking they intellectually own the black vote, that you have no alternative. If you want to be black, you actually had Joe Biden say it. If you don't know if you're for me or for Trump, you ain't black. They really truly believe they own that vote. How is that not intellectual slavery? I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, Don, just so everybody knows, Edward Durr, 33,022 votes against Steve Sweeney, the Senate president, 30,933.
That's awesome.
So, Jesus. So when 2% of the vote came in since the last time we had looked at it and the race was not called, we had won over it, and Sweeney was ahead by about 3,200 votes. So with 3% left, he only made up a couple hundred votes. That's the ground he made up. That's it. With 2%. So even if he was to match that again with the last three, Don, that means Sweeney's really only going to knock another maybe 500 votes off, 700 votes off. Tops. So that race is over. Good call by the decision desk. New Jersey, though, Democrats will maintain their majorities, but understand, folks, they had super majorities, and those super majorities are greatly weakened. So you're looking at right now the seat count in the General Assembly, 42 to 30. In the Senate, we're looking at 22 to 15. Big defeats in New Jersey for Jersey Democrats. Looking, Don, at the future of this party, Republican Party, look at where they won here. These districts, let's go back up to the governor's race and you'll see why this matters. Cape May, Cumberland, by the way, voted for Joe Biden. All right, Salem, heavily for Chattarelli and Democrat. This is actually where most of what's his name's district runs through. Old working class ancestral Democratic support down there, Hispanic working class, Italian working class, Irish working class. They had been hanging on by the appearance, the history, the relationships that we always talk about on this show and your show. We had talked about with Robert on What Are the Odds. These are relationships that are deeply ingrained in people's in their damn DNA after a while. My grandfather was a Democrat. My father was a Democrat. I'm a Democrat because that's it. Until Democrats became this, like good old James Carville said, you're crazy.
Yep.
You're crazy. What happened last night? You're all freaking nuts. And Americans aren't nuts. That's what happened last night. Raging Cajun. Good for him. But of course, what happened to the Raging Cajun? He just got trashed on social media and on panels after he left the show, right? Because so they're not willing to learn anything anymore, Don.
I loved it. I loved his comment. They need to go to wokeness detox.
The wokeness detox. That's right. I mean, that was a good one, man. I should have got him. Yeah, JFK rolling in his damn grave. That's exactly right, Chattery. JFK rolling in his damn grave. And by the way, the Larry Sabatos of the world pretending that they were JFK Democrats, Italian Democrats. No, you're not. JFK would be ashamed of you right now. Ashamed of you. Center for first of all, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pull what cancer culture people pull. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that it's not a good sign that people that biased, who their entire job is supposed to be impartial, it's not good that they run that they're in institutions and he has been there for years. Maybe that is why you're sending your kids to these schools and you're thinking you're trying to send them there to get a good education so they could have a better life than you, more successful than you. You broke your butt and worked all your life to make sure your kid can do that. And you're sending them to the Larry Sabatos of the world to be brainwashed and to be taught to get under your desk and cry when the world doesn't go your way, and then start casting aspersions on everyone because they don't agree with you, call them racist and smear and degrade them because you're an idiot, because you're a crackpot and a fraud who isn't what he pretended to be on Fox News all those years.
Well, and let me self-identify for a minute as Mary Sunshine. This is the great thing about this. This is the beauty of this for all the conservatives out there watching this right now. We know that the left is not going to backtrack. They're not going to apologize. They are going to double down, triple down, quadruple down. So by the time we get to the midterms, imagine the rhetoric we're going to hear. And so this is great news for every Republican that's running in the midterm elections. And it's really, really bad news because you're going to see Democrats turning on this going, okay, we can't do this. We're going to lose if we do this. So I am no longer, maybe Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are Republicans by then. I mean, I don't know where this thing ends, but we know that the left will never back down. They will double down, triple down, quadruple down, and bring it on, baby.
Well, I'll tell you what. I couldn't get it back in time, but I'll tell you what. That is their decision to do.
Yep.
And I started in the beginning of that night, like, lesson not learned kind of thing. Basically, that they're not taking the correct, lessons from what happened on Tuesday night. Well, into Wednesday morning and afternoon, you could see that that was just not going to happen. And Republicans should be cheering this.
Yep.
They should be cheering this one. Just let them, of course, point it out that they are crazy. Like you pointed it out before, but, white women have become the abused demographic in this country. So in 2016, they were racist idiots who were subjugated to their abusive white husbands. And then in 2018, that they started targeting them for the midterms and what was the biggest social desirability bias campaign you've ever seen anywhere in any country in any election. And then, of course, they were their best friends again. By 2020, they were the saviors of the damn republic, Don. Now they're stupid racist women again. And it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Guys, I don't care what's after your name, an R, a D, an I, an L, a G, whatever. I mean, this kind of behavior cannot be tolerated. And whatever.
And they're doubling down on the whole. So I mean, I get the whole thing about whether you have a college education or you don't have a college degree, but uneducated white women.
Later, patriotic vegan. Just
please
say goodbye to somebody.
please keep using that uneducated. They're not uneducated. They're educated women. They're smart women. College degree does not make you smart. It's not not the determining factor on whether you're educated or not. So please do this because that's the group we need to get back on board. So please keep doing that. I love it. Like I said, think about this right now, what the rhetoric is going to be a year from now, because they're angry. They use emotion, and they've been very effective over the years of using emotion. The problem is they're very emotional and they're angry. Now they're really, really angry and emotional. So that rhetoric is just going to keep ramping up and ramping up.
And I'll tell you, I mean, the bottom line here is that they need to look at what they did, but they never will. But this is what happened. They didn't choose to try to make a rational policy argument to these women. They just told them that they were bad people if they supported Donald Trump and Republicans under Donald Trump. They didn't say, I will make your life better by A, B, and C. They said, you're a bad person if you vote for these people. And then they didn't make their life better. So it's like after a while, voters, and I mean, we hear it constantly now, of around 8 to 12% of Biden's voters, that like basically the idea that they traded a mean tweet for this promise that, we're going to be back to a stable country again, a decent country, unified country, pandemic's going to get under control, yada, yada, yada. None of it happened. And I'm so glad with the public polling project, which people should definitely support if you can, consider supporting it. The link's in the description of the video. Consider supporting it because we started the Registered Voter Economic Confidence Index, and that gave us an enormous insight into why people are doing what they're doing here. When we started it, it was things are not good now. I'm a little bit surprised because under Trump, it looked like they were getting better. But you know what? 6 months from now, the 6-month outlook, I expect it will. Well, we got 6 months of tracking. We got 8 months of tracking. We got 8, and it never happened. It never happened. So now we're at the point where that 6-month outlook is now the present situation index instead of the forecast. And they are eating it. And people are wondering, would it have gotten better by now under Donald Trump? And I think it would have. That's what they're concluding. And this is, why we that head-to-head matchup with Trump and Biden is a what do you think about the argument? Somebody asked me this yesterday in a kind of like a speech thing I did over Zoom. It was a great question. And I'll give you what the answer I gave them. But your governor, Ron DeSantis, clearly the front runner if Donald Trump doesn't run. Pence is going he'll destroy Pence. He'll destroy him in the nomination. Nikki Haley. I mean, you got to be kidding me. It's Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump at this point, and that's it. All right. If DeSantis were to run, the argument people were saying after Tuesday was, that proves we can win without Trump, the Meghan McCain kind of argument. Even Will Chamberlain said, what is the argument for Donald Trump now at this point? I'd like you to get your opinion on it. Then I'll give you mine, but I'd like you to get your opinion on it. What the decision that Republicans have to make going forward now after Tuesday.
Yeah, and I think for me, and we've talked about this before, I think Ron DeSantis is he's a more polished version of Donald Trump. I think he learned a lot from Donald Trump about fighting, about messaging, even to a certain extent, but he was able to polish it, kind of take off some of the rough edges. I think he's got in this pandemic thing. I mean, he's basically a hero. They can throw DeSantis around all they want. This guy's a hero because he fights for freedom. So he's proven to be a fighter, but he's proven to be a better communicator. And I think that resonates. I think there's some tarnish to President Trump and the things that happened there. So, yeah, I mean, I see him right now. You say it's kind of, between him and Trump, and I kind of agree with it. Right now, that's the picture. I would give him the edge right now. And I'm not saying that that's a personal preference or anything like that. I'm just saying the facts are what they are. He's able to handle things, message them properly. He doesn't have the mean tweet thing going on. So yeah, I think right now he is a solid in a really, really good place. And so it'll be interesting to see that develop. Does anybody else come out of the thing? I agree with you, Pence. Forget that. Nikki Haley, forget that. You're going to have Ted Cruz in there probably again. There's going to be some Marco Rubio probably. But so what I think right now, I would totally give the edge to Ron DeSantis. I mean, he's got a track record.
Here's, I'm going to put my, election forecast hat on here, my pollster hat on. The problem I see with the DeSantis over Trump argument. Now, Trump's got his own. And I even just saw that comment that was put up, that basically Trump could polish up too. And that was what was always so surprising from people like me who have known about Donald Trump for a long time. Mm-hmm. The Donald Trump who ran for president is not the Donald Trump I know. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because of how the media treated him, but he was always a very cool, calm, and collected guy, very articulate and charming. The one that ran for president was not. All right. And you can be a tough guy and still be charming. I do it every day. All right. But I do it every day, my friend. But there's a lot of attitude with him that turned people off, that seasick voter we talked about. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though. That attitudinal, what's the word? Characteristics that, those characteristics attitudinally that make Trump so unpalatable to Virginia is what makes him so strong in Ohio and Iowa. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, but it's true. Michigan, in Macomb County, Michigan. It's unclear to me at the presidential level that Ron DeSantis could sweep those three. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. I think he could take Pennsylvania, probably. Or maybe even Wisconsin first, and then Pennsylvania would be number 2. But the argument right now to me, the way I see it, is that you basically would be trading an entire region, half region, Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, for the promise that somebody could do it better in Virginia and carry Virginia off of off-year election results. I'm not saying it's not going to be the case that DeSantis. But this is why we really should start adding this to the public polling project to see how things are working, how things are, the machinations here. Like, but that working class margin has to be big. It has to be big for. That's what still carried. If you look at, the exit polls, Youngkin's support, he did the Trump base plus a little bit more. And then he got a swing in areas that didn't like Donald Trump. You need to do both in a place like Virginia. So maybe it is possible because Youngkin did so much better with that working class. Maybe it's the culture war. Let me inject that too. Maybe it's which Ron DeSantis took head on. So maybe the polls don't show it right now. But because Ron DeSantis did take on those issues that Youngkin made so central in Virginia, that got him those working class voters in the end. You remember 2 weeks ago, I was saying when we were looking at the polling when it was close, it was really even. I told you, and I'm sure I mentioned it on multiple shows, but I told you in a private conversation that I'm a little bit suspicious that Youngkin may have sacrificed some Trump turnout over trying to get better numbers in Loudoun County, for instance. In the end, he did both, but it wasn't always clear that he would. So, I think it's, it's a long way away, my friend. In politics, this amount of time is an eternity. So anything can happen. I'm just saying there really is only one Republican candidate who proved that he could get that kind of vote share among those voters who are Obama voters. I mean, that's the truth of it. You can't do that good with the working class unless you take some of Obama's voters. But again, it's a tough decision for Republicans going forward, man. It really is.
My gut tells me today, and you're right, though. There's
the FBI raided Project Veritas. That happened just now. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go. I'll look into it and we'll see.
Oh, I was just going to say, my gut tells me right now, because you're right, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. But my gut tells me right now that we won't have to make that choice. I don't see these guys competing against each other. I don't see them running against each other. Maybe they have something already worked out. Maybe they've talked about it. But I don't see a head-to-head matchup between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. Just my gut.
Yeah, DeSantis won't run. I've already got that straight from the goose. He won't run. If Trump runs, he won't run. But he would be the VP. I don't even think there's no choice. I mean, there's no choice. If Donald Trump runs again, he's picking Ron DeSantis. Mike Pence is not going to be his vice president. Not happening. You know what? Trump DeSantis is probably going to look better anyway. Yeah. I'm serious. Like as a brandable thing, I think it would look better. We essentially shamed a certain pollster a couple weeks ago for ridiculous poll numbers in Florida. And now they're out with brand new numbers. And they show Ron DeSantis absolutely crushing Charlie Crist. It's double digits. It's not close. DeSantis is winning crossover Dems. He's winning independents by a very large margin. The electorate's like R4. It would be a total wipeout against a woman who said we're not allowed to use pronouns. He beats her by 20 points, damn near. I mean, it's like 19 or something like that, but 20 points, whereas he beats Charlie Crist by like 13. I can't wait to get into Florida. I don't know how much we're going to be able to poll with the public polling project in 2022. I'm hoping my locals community gets big enough where we could just do that, or at least use it for some. But if I have to pick a single race that I want to poll, it's going to be, of course, a generic ballot. We'll have a generic ballot, but definitely the Florida gubernatorial election. That will be it. Because I got to weigh in on Florida, Don. I am the Florida pollster. I am the Florida. It's now, since Rick Scott won re-election, it's been all these years. I can't give up now, my friend.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Got to.
Now, so, got to do it. Well, Laura left. She had to leave for the baby guys. So we'll do a little thing for locals a bit later. I know she said she left me a note before she ran that she had locals questions. We'll do that on locals because I'm going to let Dawn go. I know she's probably waiting for me to go and help. So basically, The kid, he's such a good kid. I took my kids with me, of course, and they were all pretty good, but he's such a good little boy. He really is. My other son was too. You could take him from Jersey to Florida in a car and he'd barely make a peep. I got blessed, man. My daughter is a diva, boy. I love her and she's good, but she's a damn diva. And I'm like powerless to resist her. I am.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what, Bree? You know what? I don't like your attitude. Laura, do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like that, Dad. You had a daughter. What did you do? What did you let Brenda do most of the disciplinary stuff?
Totally.
I can't do crap, man.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so with Brenda, it was our son, right? So, so I think that's just the way it works. But yeah, my daughter could probably get away with 10 times what my son could. And the reverse with Brenda, my son could get away with 10 times more than our daughter. So yeah, I think that's just the way it works.
It's just natural then, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because there is no way there's just no way. It's not going to change. I've tried, but it's just not going to happen.
They bat those baby blues at you, and you're just like, okay, honey.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, no, not until you eat. You can't have any dessert until you eat your meat, whatever.
Yeah. You can't have any pudding until you eat your meat.
Exactly.
That's so great. So what do we got going on tomorrow, my friend? What do we got going on tomorrow?
Oh, we got a lot of stuff going on. So we've got, we're going to play a clip of the Michael Flynn interview. Really, really cool. Like I said, the show will be on Monday. For anybody who's inside locals in my community, I'm going to leave that link up where we did the live stream, so you can actually watch the whole Michael Flynn interview. Now, if you want, I'll leave that up till night probably, and I'll probably take that down tomorrow.
Brenda, throw it in the comments, and then I'll grab it. Do you have the link? I'll throw it in the comments. I'll grab it from the YouTube comments, put it into my thing here, which goes out to everything. So is she still there and can shoot that link and I'll copy it?
So she's still, I'm not sure. She's still kind of working here, but I think I can. Can you do it? I think so.
Or text it to me and I'll throw it in the comment section for everybody.
Hang on 1 second. So, okay.
I swear, folks, by next week, we're going to figure this out. All right. Because we were going to run it for you and I couldn't take it off of locals.
So yeah, I will share this into the YouTube stream or into the comments
Brenda's
section.
there. Oh, but Nico, you're doing it anyway. Yeah, that's cool.
I'm doing it right now. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna play a little clip of that. Of course, the Peter Navarro thing. That's just awesome. Both these interviews were awesome. So we'll do those. Of course, we will have Rich the People's Pundit Barris on, and let's see, we got Peter Hussey. He's got some really interesting stuff on what's going on with China and what's going on with their buildup. So he's always got some really interesting. He's got the latest stuff, man.
Interviews. Yeah, I love his interviews. I really do.
I'll say this again. Nobody is talking about this stuff, and it's like really important. These are nuclear weapons, and if this stuff's going on, and nobody even discusses what's going on with the buildups in Russia, but more importantly, what's going on in China right now. I mean, these guys are. You want to talk about Operation Warp Speed? These guys are doing that, and it's nuclear weapons, guys. So anyway, so we'll be talking to him about that as well. Of course, all the latest news. We're going to cover a little bit more about the elections and more so how the media is covering this stuff, because it's just fascinating to me. Again, they're going to double down, triple down, quadruple down. That's just what they do, and we'll give you some good examples of that. So tomorrow, noon Eastern time, DonSmithShow.locals.com, or Don Smith Show is my YouTube channel. We'll be on Rumble as well, Don Smith Show. So we try to keep it consistent. So anyway,
here it is. Actually, I did get it. You want the locals clip, right? Because it's uploaded natively to locals. That's what I saw.
What I just put on there, the clip, that is the YouTube, and that is the full 50-minute interview with Michael Flynn from yesterday.
Oh, wow. You put the whole thing up. Oh, wow. Okay. Here's the Flynn interview clip for Don's Locals show, because if you can, go check out Don's Locals page as well. And then I'll put the other thing up too. But check it out. Give it a thumbs up, and look, you got Peter Navarro too.
Oh, it's awesome. Amazing interview. You got to see this.
I'm going to check that out as soon as I get off. I'm going to get something to eat, and I'm going to watch your stuff while I'm getting something to eat.
The Peter Navarro clip I put in Locals is just that was just like a 15-second clip where he talks about wanting to see Fauci in an orange jumpsuit. But the whole interview will be on the show tomorrow. 15 minutes with him, and man, he was awesome. He was on fire. Good stuff.
Wow, I can see him gearing up. I see him already. I'm looking at it. I clicked on it, and it started to play, and I can see Flynn gearing up. Flynn interview on YouTube, folks.
So
that's what I'm naming it. Okay.
So the clip I put in there of the Flynn interview on. So this was kind of cool. So what you see in Locals there, the Flynn interview, I played that for Peter Navarro. So what these guys started talking about Peter Navarro in this interview. And so they're talking about his role and that he did a great job. He was one of the actual, supporters of Trump and a hardcore supporter. So it's Michael Flynn actually talking specifically about Peter Navarro and about what happened at the end with the team that was around Trump. So I was able to pull that and get that on the interview. When I did the interview with Peter Navarro, I'm like, hey, here's what General Michael Flynn had to say about you earlier. I want your reaction. Boom. Played it, and then he gave his reaction to it, which was really cool too. So that was kind of neat.
Okay, see, I did misunderstand. I could have gotten that clip of Flynn, at least clip something. I thought that was natively on Locals. So when I looked at it, the play button looked like the Locals play button to me. It didn't look like YouTube.
Yep.
So that I could work with. That
Okay.
I could do. Just tell me what you want. We know what you want, from but we could talk about that after.
Yep.
All right, so I guess from there we'll kick this thing out, guys. We're gonna go. We're gonna have a good. I want everybody to have a good and safe weekend, of course, and see you on Locals in a little bit, and keep your eye out on, of course, the Locals feed. Check out that interview with Flynn. Check out that interview with Navarro. Check out Don Smith's show tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. Both our communities will have it up. Don, as always, my friend, thank you. We will see you soon.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Thanks, everybody.
All the best. See you later, guys. All right. Don't forget, follow the Public Polling Project. Follow the Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com. If you like this video, give it on YouTube. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. You'll get the video notification when we go live. On Rumble, give it a Rumble, whatever it's called, right? But also subscribe there, and they'll let you know when we're going to go live. All right. Most of the stuff on the Locals community right now is going to be Rumble going forward, just to give everybody a hat tip, but you probably already saw that already. All right. Have a safe and happy weekend, folks. Thanks for joining us. See you soon.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Get on a plane and take a one-way ride. Steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a night, just to give into the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me,